good, y'all? Today we're gonna react to some scary TikToks that'll make you think twice, man. Yeah, I like doing these. These are entertaining. Take it with a grain of salt. It might be real, it might not be, but let's get entertained, y'all. Before we do, Len, let's hit that like. Let's hit that sub. Let's take this channel a long ways, man. It mean a lot to me. Let's do it.
In 1535, the Spanish conquistadors came through that area and they found stones with strange animals on them. They sent some back to the King of Spain and said, "What on earth are these animals carved on these rocks?" The king said, "I have no clue." Today they're called the Ica burial stones from Ica, Peru. These stones show dinosaurs on them, the Nazca burial stones, from about the time of Christ, plus or minus a few hundred years. Some of them show brain surgery. They find brain surgery instruments, hardened copper, tempered copper instruments for cutting into people's heads, apparently. Quite a few of them, over 500, I believe, show dinosaurs. Why would they have dinosaurs and humans on the same stones? Well, because people lived with dinosaurs. Anyway, there's plenty on that. Here's one from our museum. Shows a dinosaur holding a guy by the head. This one we've got shows what appears to be a guy cutting the head off the dragon because the dragon killed his friend. You can see the friend's body is inside, but his head's missing. This one's hard to see, but he's shoving the spear down the dragon's throat. This one, the dragon's got the guy by the arm, and apparently his spirit is leaving. Some of them show circles on the side. Now, that's kind of interesting. Why would they put circles on the side of the dinosaurs? Well, nobody ever found dinosaur skin until about 20 years ago, when fossilized dinosaur skin was found. It's very interesting. The dinosaur skin has circle patterns on it. They had to see a live one to know to put that on the stones, because you couldn't tell that from the bones.
Man, I guess somebody got copyrighted sound or something. Ain't no way I'd want to be out there. I think I'm looking at it more than I'm reading.
Horizon, we have one of the largest tabular icebergs currently on our planet. It just keeps going. Something this big is kind of hard to comprehend even when it's right in front of you, but this speaks to how much fresh, frozen water is down in the Southern Ocean. For anyone wanting some perspective, take a look at the birds that are flying next to this thing. It's probably about 200 feet high, and that's just about 15% of what's sticking out of the water. The rest is down below, like an ice wall, drifting through the ocean, currently heading east toward the South Orkney Islands. Kind of wouldn't believe it if
1958, as you can see. Now, we're going to flip to the Antarctica and see what the Encyclopedia Britannica from 1958, before the Antarctic Treaty, says is there. Now, you won't find this in the new encyclopedias because the government's banned them. But what I want you to notice right here is notice how it says
I can't read
the
shit.
flights proved inland areas to be featureless in character with a dome 13,000 feet high at about latitude 80 degrees south, longitude 90 degrees east. Take a really, really close look at that. Now I'm going to zoom it in for you. When they returned to New Zealand, these flights proved the inland areas to be features of the character with a dome 13,000 feet high at about latitude 80 degrees south, longitude 90 degrees east. Now, if this doesn't make sense to you, let me show you with an image of what a flat earth map would look like. Now, this is what a latitude 80 degrees south would look like on a flat earth map. As you can see, the dome comes down closer to you over the wall, which would be about 13,000 feet. Now, if you go back out into the center of the earth, or up the North Pole, and try to go up to the firmament with a little bit of calculation, it's going to show that it's about 385,500 feet away. It's really, really simple, folks. Now, if you're not familiar with any of this at all, and you're just now new to all this, you could say, well, this guy is crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But what you got to ask yourself is, why do all the maps before 1958 show a flat earth with the ice wall around it and a firmament, a dome? And why does the encyclopedia tell you that there's a dome there and it gives you the exact height at the certain latitude and longitude? Well, the reason is because in 1958, that's when all governments and all nations of the world signed the UN treaty to ban all civilians from going to the Antarctica. And NASA came in and erased everything, just like they're erasing everything today. So again, ask yourself, if all this existed before 1958, why doesn't it exist now? How come that it all of a sudden was erased and just disappeared out of your history books, out of your encyclopedias, out of your libraries? Wake up, people.
8-day moon cycles, and there's 13 per year. So when you think of your calendar and you have 12 months, where is the missing month? Because you have 13 moon cycles per year, so where is the missing month? It's something we don't think about. You have 13 28-day moon cycles, but you only have 12 months in a year. Where is the off month? And this is why when I say connecting to the moon energy, you can see that the same cycle happens every single time. So where is that month that we're missing? And then you start to say, well, what season are we actually in then? Because if we're always missing basically a month all the time, then that would mean our timeline is very incorrect, or our calendar is very incorrect as well. You know, and as somebody just said, we switched to the Gregorian calendar and we messed up all our cycles. Yes, we did. And that's the thing. We don't even know what day or year we are in. This is where it gets crazy. You know, someone could say, well, today's 2023. According to who? Who told you we're in 2023? And then, what month are we actually in? And if you create this confusion, you can then control the people because they start to believe, well, I'm in 2023. Well, what happens if you were in 2023? Like 1023? Then what? You'd really start thinking things different. Because, you know, if you start thinking about the calendar and now everything's thrown off, you'd start there and go, oh my gosh, wait a minute, this is what year we're in? Wait, what month are we in? And then we start going, oh, well, what season am I in? And then who created that up too? Who made up that number? You know, that's the other part. You sit there and go, maybe, what happens if we're in like 5046? You know? And then you sit there and you think you're still driving a car with 20 miles to the gallon in 5046.
In 1997, a man by the name of Otis Eugene Ray emerged onto the digital landscape, boldly proclaiming himself as the wisest man on Earth. He launched a personal website, a peculiar corner of the internet, known as TimeCube. This website served as a platform for radio.
Element 115 is a super heavy element. We've only just recently synthesized, we only made 4 atoms of it. The craft uses larger quantities of it, 223 gram little triangles of it. But it's a unique element. When it's exposed to radiation, it produces its own gravitational field, its own anti-gravitational field, and it's what's used to lift and propel the craft and create distortions around it. It's an amazing material, and it's certainly nothing that occurs here or naturally.
And it can be weaponized, and that's kind of the issue here. If this story is all true, that can be weaponized.
Absolutely. I mean, we ran all kinds of tests on it, everything from atomic absorption, X-ray fluorescence, and, you know, every kind of test you could possibly imagine, and bombarded it with radiation to see what effects it would have. They call that neutron activation, but it was a stable element.
What is up? Somebody get copyrighted a bunch and they just muted this shit? What the fuck?
There were very poor field of invisibility for the ship, and I might point out in 1940 there were very poor radar systems. The technology also began about 1931 for radar, but we didn't have anything like a really sophisticated radar system in 1940, so they were concerned about ship invisibility. A special crew was chosen, the Eldridge was taken off the drawing board, and the equipment was designed to fit into it with the 2 main generators in the forward hold, number 2 gun turret. And as you saw there, the tests, 2 of them were conducted. The first one, both tests with an experimental crew, specially chosen. First one was 22 July 1943, in which they achieved in radar as well as optical invisibility. It was very successful in terms of the hardware. But they had a problem with personnel, being disoriented, nauseous, totally mentally destabilized, if you will. So when the ship was returned to dockside after an approximate 20-minute test at 1000 hours in the morning, a new crew was assigned. Van Neumann knew he had a very serious problem. He had listened to us eventually that there was a problem, and he knew it then. Went to the Navy for an extension on time. The Navy said, no way, there's a war on. Do what you have to do to make it work, but you have a deadline, drop dead date, 12 August 1943. If you can't make that date, forget it. We were all working furiously around the clock. Came the date. Everything was ready, we thought, and we went out in the harbor. Actually, my brother and I were very apprehensive. So we were given the radio command, as per the movie, turn the equipment on for about 70 seconds. To the outside observers, everything appeared to be functioning correctly. Radar invisibility was achieved. There was no true optical invisibility, though there was a great haze of fog, greenish in color. And then after about 70 seconds, the ship disappeared completely. As the movie indicated, on board, there was a great deal of problems. We realized from the outset that something was wrong, seriously wrong. And when everything started to nearly explode around us, we tried to shut the equipment off, found the handles frozen. We could not shut it off. We got zapped. We decided the only way out was outside. And we both simultaneously got the idea, let's jump overboard and jump in the bay and swim ashore. We jumped overboard all right. We did not wind up in the bay. We wound up on shore at Montauk, Long Island, inside the perimeter of a military base at Montauk, which was then known as Fort Hero and was the other terminal of this experiment known as the Phoenix Project. At approximately 2 a.m. in the morning, and a very bright light was shining down on us. We felt this fence in back of us. We didn't know where we were or what had happened. A very, very bright spotlight and this noisy thing overhead, a helicopter. What did we know about helicopters? Sikorsky was still working on them in '43. MPs grabbed us, took us down below into one of the labs, and we were confronted by Dr. Van Neumann, an old man. He says, I am Dr. Van Neumann. We've been expecting you. And he says, you who? Says, you're a doc. We have been expecting you. I am Dr. Van Neumann. He eventually convinced us of the fact, and of course, looking around there, seeing video displays, terminals, equipment like we had never seen, we knew something was wrong. He told us briefly, we know what has happened. The 2 experiments have locked up. We've created a huge hole in hyperspace. The Eldridge is in it. You have to go back and smash the equipment and return that ship to its normal place. I said, we can do this here. The Phoenix Project did achieve total control of time and space.
The fact that this was discovered hiding under a painting during a renovation of a cathedral in Naples says it all. Another sloppy cover-up of our true past at work. I think they tried to cover up giants and dragons, griffins, and a lot of other creatures. Yet they did such a sloppy job, they just ended up calling them mythical creatures. But isn't it odd, the Chinese zodiac has all real creatures but one. And the fact that so many of our cultures, all across our realm, share the same depictions of dragons, much like they do giants and many other creatures. These artists drew exactly what they saw. And you can still find some mud fossil remains. Like here's the Dragon Head Cave in Egypt. This world is vastly different than what we've been told it was. And why cover up dragons? It's the same reason why they lied to us about all of our history. Those unaware of their true past and their true origins are all that much easier to control. Perhaps dragons explained some of those melted castles. And just look what our old dictionary said about dragons. Now rare. And even a news story from England. This was just a few short generations ago. As they say, it only takes a few generations to completely erase our knowledge of our true history. And sloppy as it may be, they have succeeded in doing that. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
Yeah, I've always believed in dragons.
The-
Oops. The hell? Well, I appreciate y'all watching. I'm sorry this TikTok was short. Some of it, I guess, had copyrights. That's why it was muted, but yeah, man, I appreciate everybody here, man. I'll try to find some better ones next time, man. If y'all would, hit that like, hit that sub, man. It means a lot. It takes this channel a long ways, man. Until next time, peace.